Well, hello everyone. Welcome back to American Falls by Lancyboi. Happy Wednesday. Good to be back. Sorry I missed you yesterday. Unfortunately, work came up with some brilliant scheme that required me to do a little bit of traveling, which is pretty well, it's usually not the norm. Unordinary, inordinary, not ordinary. But I'm back. We're back. We're happy. Middle of the week. Hump day. Or so the kids say. We are going to be doing some harvesting today. Let me show you what I got going on here. I purchased the old TARDIS. I don't like that name, but it is what it is. You know, you just add a couple letters to that and it just you don't want to be driving around with that. I'm not sure what TARDIS, what that stands for. Anyways, it's a good trailer regardless. I did buy it. I didn't buy the extension. I bought the standard unit. And I did buy the one that has the big old volume to it, the 150,000. So I think that'll be handy for us. It was $1,000 more to go with this style trailer. And I just threw some colors on that I liked. John Deere green. And the yellow is, I don't know what the yellow I think might be, what's its name? Not Caterpillar. Well, it's Cat, but it's, you know that brand. Then I leased the old Massey Ferguson 5650 with a matching header on it. I think the header is like 5.8, 5.6 meters. So it's not too bad. It'll spit out straw for us, which is nice. So we should get some straw, I think, from this sorghum. Hopefully. We need the money. You can see our coffers are a tad on the low side right now because of my purchasing prowess. We do have bales that we're going to sell. We're going to have sorghum to sell. We're going to bank our sorghum, stick it in the silo, and wait a couple months because the price does go up quite a bit at the end of the year. So I don't want to just be frivolous with our sorghum. And if all goes to plan and the weather holds up, we're going to turn right around and we're going to seed. I think we're going to seed this field and our other new field, both with barley, I believe. But yeah, let's take a quick look at this Massey. I really like this little gizmo. It's full of surprises. To be honest with you, I didn't know it could do everything it could do. I'm still a little confused about some of the things. Maybe some of you can fill in the gaps, but there's several. So you know how normally you can just go between the harvester and the header? Well, there's like control group 5, 6, and then 7 is the header. So the harvester alone has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different things you can go through. And each one, I think the mouse does something different. Like the mouse is opening and closing our little top cover there. If I do both buttons on the mouse, it does this. I don't know what the point of this is. Maybe just a look thing? I don't know. Farmer Joe, if you're still out there, maybe you can help me out with that one. But I'm a little confused about that option. Then if we go to the next control group, they say left cover, which I'm not really sure what the left. I'm not seeing anything. Oh, there we go. Oh, yeah, buddy. Nice. Easy way to get to the belts and whatnot. Because it's the whatnot that always breaks down when you don't want it to. Control group 3 is right cover. Look at that. Come on, we got to see that. Very nice. I had no idea this little Massey was so feature packed. Control group 4 is the back stairs. Boom. Engine side cover. Oh, oh. 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 Let's close that up. Nice. Control group 6 is the front stairs. So I'm going to assume... Oh. Okay. And then we move to the head, which of course... The header, which of course you can... Oh, I didn't know you could do that. You can take that side cover off. Nice. You know what? Let's leave that off for a second. Oh, nice. Moving parts and everything. It's got moving parts and everything. Well, isn't that special? Okay, okay. I'm following you. Let's put the cover back on for protection. All right, let's get to harvesting. Let's see what happens. I don't understand why refuel is on there. What are we around for fueling other than our Voltra? I don't think we can fuel from our Voltra. I don't know where that refuel is coming from. And I don't know what it's trying to refuel from. It's kind of odd. But it is what it is. Let's do this. Let's see. I guess, you know, the proof is in the pudding, as they say, as the kids say. We are getting a lovely... Wait a minute. Wait a stinking minute. I'm not really seeing... I mean, is there a straw swath there? And it's just kind of... I don't think so. I forget if you normally get a straw swath from sorghum. It seems like you don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but methinks straw windrows are not from sorghum. This thing's got good visibility too. I like that. This is not a too shabby of a starting harvester. I like that you can have an enclosed cab so we're not sucking in 16 pounds of dirt and dust. That's kind of nice. I'll take that. We really don't have much of a need for a... Yeah, we're not getting a windrow out of this thing. We're not getting any straw from this thing. I'm pretty sure... enable straw swath. Wait a minute, Brad. Straw is not available for the current crop type. Well, that would just explain the dickens out of that, wouldn't it? I do, for once in my life, I remember something correctly. I was actually thinking about just not even getting a trailer for this since we're right by our silos, but I thought, you know what? It's going to get old when we start getting towards the middle and far side of the field. This thing only holds 5,000 liters. It's not going to be a lot of fun driving back and forth to the silos. So, and we need a trailer. We definitely need a trailer. I looked at options for our pickup truck to see if there was any, you know, inexpensive options that we could just maybe change the flatbed on our pickup truck or something. And there really wasn't anything particularly available. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to stick with just picking up the old TARDIS. You never regret getting a TARDIS. I know. Words are weird, right? They are weird. I was talking to a dude. I was helping some dude out yesterday, He's in California, but the guy, Tin Man, the guy is 100% Canadian. I can tell a Canadian accent from a mile away. He said he only lived in Canada for like 4 years, about 20 years ago, but this guy spoke more Canadian than some Canadians I know. And I think he just enjoyed it. I think he got a kick out of just sounding Canadian. I'm not really sure what his gig was. But anyways, nice guy, friendly enough, you know. Wanted his speakers working on his laptop. I don't blame him. You know, they're speakers. You want them working. You know, and Dell, well, I can't really blame Dell necessarily, but we'll just say somebody shipped him a laptop with speakers that weren't working. So I decided I'd help the guy out, you know, and we, pretty easy fix. And in talking to him, because I was telling him how Canadian he sounded and everything, and we were talking about Canadian spelling and some Canadian pronunciations like process instead of process. Actually, profile is right. Processor instead of processor. What's going on right now? That thing dumps really slow, doesn't it? I guess you get what you pay for. Ooh, that hurt. I shouldn't have stepped on those things. Get my foot caught. But words are kind of fluid. You know, they change over the years. I heard some. It's on YouTube, and it was one of the most bizarre things I've heard. And I don't know how they know this or where they got their information from. But it was the original English language being spoken. And by original, I mean like original, not British, English. This was some weird stuff. It didn't, in fact, most of the time it didn't even sound like what we would consider English today. I need to listen to that again. It was just bizarro. And I'm assuming they've figured it out maybe from some old, you know, manuscripts or things that they have unearthed and found. But language is weird. And some words that used to be quite okay to say are now just considered horrible. And I get some of it, but it is interesting how if a word offends people, that over time, that word just gets removed. You know? It just goes bye-bye. Or it's unacceptable kind of stuff. And there was a lot of words. I'm not talking bad words. I'm not talking about obvious, like, I think racial words have always been racial and they should be stricken from the record. But I'm talking about other words that we, even when I was growing up, were used as like adjectives to describe things that we just never even applied anything to them other than as some type of a descriptor, you know? And it wasn't like when we would say these words that we were thinking through the literal, I guess, meaning of them or what have you. It was more just, you know, just there. It told a quick story of how you felt or what you thought about something. But I get it. I get how words are powerful. They're exceptionally powerful. I've said things in the past that I completely regret saying. And humans, we are definitely wired, whether we like it or not, to remember those things and those bad words. Even with sincere apologies given and stuff, we are very, very well, yeah, wired, I guess, you know, created to remember those things. So I always, you know, I always think I do a lot better these days thinking before I speak. I try to, at least. I like to think that I've gotten better at it. I'm going to try and get this a little bit nicer for us. I think we're going to go ahead and dump this before we head down the trail here. I took it was one of these corporate exercises that you go through when you're either in management training or you're going through your required skills courses and management courses and whatnot. And I took one of these classes. It was probably one of the only classes I've ever taken where to this day I still really value it and I remember it quite well. And it was in active listening. And man, this thing does unload slow, doesn't it? If we rev the engine, does that help? No, it just moves us. But yeah, active listening is kind of bizarre if you really do it. It's bizarre and it's kind of difficult. And I remember it was very tiring, like mentally, and it felt slightly physically tiring to actively listen to somebody, like really be tuned in to what that person is saying and not be thinking about the next thing you're going to say or the next thing you want to say, or even preparing for or trying to digest everything they're saying. It was so much more difficult than I gave it credit for. It was a class that I had zero, quite frankly, interest in taking, and I thought this is going to be ridiculous, like a lot of them are. But yeah, I was really, really surprised at how difficult that is. And this was years ago, and there's things that I definitely remember and have taken with me from that class. Little things, a couple larger things. I always felt like I was a good listener. But I guess my definition of that would have been I just kept my mouth shut while somebody else was talking and let them finish what they want to say. I guess that was kind of my definition of a good listener. But I quickly found out that there is a lot more to it than just keep. And even though that's a good start, my kids aren't always that great at that, I can tell you that much. It's just funny to listen, and it's not just my kids, it's a lot of kids, and it's when you listen to the younger you are, the younger the people are that you're listening to, it amazes me to some extent that they ever hear anybody else. like, and ever even remember remotely what somebody else just said, because they are just talking all the time, all groups, all parties. My two sons will be talking about or arguing or whatever they're doing about something, and with zero allowance of allowing the other person to complete their thought. And somehow or other, this exchange of conversation magically they hear each other, because they acknowledge things that each one of them are saying, but I have no idea how. I can't figure it out, and I'm not saying anything. I'm just sitting listening to them yap, and it's like, it's hurting my brain, because I can't focus on what either one is saying. But they somehow pull it off. And maybe it's, I'm sure I did the same thing when I was a lot younger. I'm positive I did. Probably drove my parents absolutely insane. And sometimes you want to get that thought out so bad. I'm impressed by this little Massey. I don't know about you all, but I know it's low end. I know it's not going to be tackling, huge fields. It could, but you wouldn't want to, I wouldn't think. But from just a detail centric. Look at the little reverse lever, little forward lever. How cute is that? What about our turn signals? Do we have anything? Do we have buttons for anything? I don't think so. I don't think it's IC. I don't think it is. Is it? I don't think so. Nope, I'm not seeing any. I'm not seeing any IC with it, but that's all right. It's even got a fire extinguisher. I would love to drive this thing around all day in a field. That's fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Can we open some stuff up and take a peek ski? That's our grain bin right there, right? And then if we open this up, I'm assuming we've got more moving parts. Oh yeah, sure we do. Look at that bad boy going to town. What's that, like the sifter? Is that what they call it? The sifter? One of them's the sifter, and I don't know my parts very well. That is just so cool. Whoever did this, who is the mod author on this? I want to check that. So Massey Ferguson by Holtzes? FS and Wagner something. Well, nice job. Nice stinking work. I like it. I'm a fan of older harvesters anyways. I wish we would have had this on the old family farm. We had something like this on the old family farm. Not as fancy. I wish it held a little more than 5,000 liters, but you know, it's what you're gonna get. Get out of here, bird. But it's not doing a bad job on this field. I like this one. I was actually gonna get the other New Holland. I've got a modded New Holland, an older New Holland. Where's that bird going? And I was thinking about that one and maybe throwing this header on it, because this is the bigger of the small combine headers. The other one for the New Holland was like a 4-meter. I'm glad I went with this one. This one just was a little cheaper to lease. And I kind of liked the looks of it. And we definitely, in my neck of the woods, would be a lot more likely to see, I would say, a Massey than a New Holland combine, at least the older one. I just love the old equipment. It just is. They're just wicked cool. It's like that old. Oh man. I just thought of, this is such a weird memory, but the early days of Farming Simulator 13, my first Farming Simulator game, or just plain Farming Simulator for Xbox, for the Xbox 360. Pardon me as I light my celebratory stogie. Not sure what I'm celebrating, but that's what it is. I may even have to grab a little AWB here. But I was, and I still am. I mean, I'm not saying I am by no means a farmer. I am by no means have the knowledge of a farmer that the farmer has. But this was in the day when I really didn't know anything. Like, it would be fair to say that I was at the top of the ignorance scale when it came to farming equipment and what to do with it and what it did. I probably knew what a combine was and did, you know, stuff like that, but certainly very minimal. But I do distinctly remember, you know, on Farming Simulator 13, which map was that? It's the American map. Was that Westbridge Hills? I guess it doesn't really matter, but it was the American map. And you start with a pretty old, if I remember right, it's a red combine. I think it's not a Massey. I forget which one it is. I forget. But anyways, I went to that field, and the game has it set up so that the header is right in front of the combine, but they're not connected. So you just drive forward, you connect it, and off to the races kind of thing. Well, I overcomplicated things considerably, and I think it took me a while to just figure that out. But I, for the life of me, could not figure out what to do or how to unload the combine. I remember thinking that's what the pipe is for. You pipe out and it should unload. But I think I was under the impression, for some reason, if I remember right, that you just did it on the ground or something. I had a weird concept. And it probably took me the better part of an hour. Maybe not quite that much. Because I remember grabbing the tractor and the trailer and driving over to the combine, and I just, for the life of me, could not get that thing to unload or something. You know, I'm sure it was a combination of ignorance, impatience, not lining things up correctly. Excuse me. I think I remember too, one of the things was not having the combine running. I believe that set me back quite a bit. And the combine wouldn't unload until it was actually running, and that was freaking me out. So I remember distinctly going into the combine and getting the pipe out and then jumping into the tractor, going under the pipe and it not unloading. And I'm like, well, that has to be how it works. What am I missing here? You know, do I need to climb up on the combine? Do something? I don't know what I'm doing. And that's when I started looking up Farming Simulator on YouTube. And I would say that kicked off my watching Farming Simulator on YouTube, which I've done ever since, off and on, more or less. And it just so happens the first person that I started watching, and I think I've talked about him, I don't remember his channel. I really should look it up and put it in the show notes, because it is really entertaining to watch this guy Forrest Gump his way through Farming Simulator 13 with less knowledge than I had. And I just thoroughly enjoyed his content. I think it was partially because he's British, and that helped. The accent definitely added to the deal, but also he didn't know anything about farming, which, I mean, nothing. And he had zero, quite frankly, interest in it. But I think his reasoning for playing the game was simply because he felt it was going to be kind of comical for people to watch this poor guy. You know, it would have been like me picking up, what's that game that my super nerd friends play that are a lot smarter than me. It's that space game where you have to build your rockets and stuff, and you have to fly to different planets and whatnot, and it looks so convoluted and so amazingly difficult to me. It starts with a K, doesn't it, or something? I don't know. I was going to say I had a friend. He wasn't even a friend. He was just some dude I worked with. He drank about a gallon of coffee a day. I mean, it was bad. This dude would come to work. Now, let me just preface what I'm going to say here with a tad of a warning, as we are going to be telling of a tale that involves a bathroom. This guy would come to work in the morning, I kid you not, with one of those 1 liter jugs that, you know, the big boys, you know, that you can get at Speedway or something like that. It's for people who are just so in desperate need of caffeine and sugar, because I guess you can do pop or whatever. Nobody uses it for water. That'd be healthy. This guy used to come in with that freaking liter jug full of coffee. Okay? And that right there would just devastate me. I don't know how people drink that much, let alone coffee. And then that sucker would be gone by like 10, by morning break. He was a help desk guy. So that's all he did all day was sit on his butt and talk on the phone to people. He's a help desk guy. I can't do that anymore. I'm TBG, I know you do a lot of phone stuff. Hats off to you, my brother. I know that you're not help desk, but I think it takes a special person. I really do. To have the patience and the wherewithal to deal with people all day on the phone. Because there's that phone separation, and a lot of ignorant idiots believe that gives them a license to say whatever they want to say, because they're not, they don't have you, face to face. They can say anything they want to you because it's over the phone. It's bad. People are weird. People are bad sometimes. Anyways, so around 10 o'clock, he was done with his liter of coffee. Now, you may not know this. I didn't know this until recently. Coffee has what's that word I'm looking for? Roughage. It's you know, that you get from whole grain cereal. Fiber. Coffee has fiber. I didn't know that. It makes sense. Coffee's a fruit plant from a tree, and it has fiber. I think they say it's like 2 grams of fiber for every 200 mils of coffee or something like that, or 250 mils of coffee. I think it's 200. It might even be 160. I forget what it is, but you get the idea. For a small cup of coffee, reasonably small cup of coffee, you get a couple grams of fiber. And I think they say your daily fiber should be in the 30 area, I think. So you're getting a little bit of your fiber from coffee. Didn't know that. Nice to know. This guy was getting probably about 20 grams of fiber from his freaking mega jug, let alone what he put in it. God only knows what additives were in there. The quarter cup of sugar and creamer and everything else. But by the time 10 o'clock rolled around, that was his break time, and this was a small office. This was about 15 people. I think I've mentioned this to y'all, but it's about 15 people worked there when I was working there. And we all knew. We knew people's schedules. You got to know people's schedules. You know, some people were morning. You know, some people had a morning routine. Some people break time. Some people right after lunch. Our bodies all function a little differently. AWB, by the way. So this dude would go in 10 o'clock sharp and absolutely destroy the commode. I mean, to the point where my boss was actually going to bring human resources into the fold. They were trying to figure out a way to basically tell this guy, look, man, something has to change because we only have one John and it's a dual stall. But this was so bad that you couldn't use the John. You certainly could not use the stall he left because it was wrecked. But the other one, albeit clean, was the odor was outrageous. And they actually, at some point, now granted, the bathroom was not well configured, and we all knew that. So we all knew the bathroom was not well configured. Ventilation was basically zip in that bathroom. In fact, there was one fan, but we all knew that fan just blew into the ceiling. It was a drop ceiling, and we went up there one time and knocked down one of those ceiling panels to look and see if that fan actually exhausted, and it was just blowing into the ceiling, man. And it was because we were starting to catch wafts of something very wrong, even in our lab, in our clean room. We're like, this something's not right. At first we thought maybe a squirrel or a bat or something, you know, got caught in the wall and died. But it was the dude from the help desk. And it was that ventilation going into the freaking drop ceiling. You know, and one time we had to get up there to run, to do a new Ethernet run from our switch closet out to our lab to set up a new bench. And mistakenly waited until late afternoon or late morning to do this, and by gosh, we had to take 2 or 3 ceiling tiles out and let it air for like a half an hour. So eventually they called in the big guns and put in a legit. Oh, look at it! Even has really nice exhaust too. I'm really loving this Massey. So yeah, they called in the big guns, and sure enough, they ended up the building. I think because we were leasing a space at the time. So I don't know who had to put the money down. I think we did. I don't think the owner was particularly responsible for everything. But they ended up putting a new exhaust fan, I think 2 of them, and they reconfigured the bathroom in such a way that it would push out, a lot more volume of air per minute, and things got much better from a nose perspective, from the bouquet of unpleasantness that we were all dealing with. And this was not good coffee this guy was drinking, obviously. Because I'm now a firm believer that if you drink good coffee, your body's not going to react the way it did this guy's did, okay? Which kind of makes some sense, because it depends on, the acidity levels and whatnot can affect different people differently. But then we realized it wasn't just the coffee that was the problem. It was the copious... Oh, yay. Oh, that scratched up the Valtra something fierce. I'm sorry, Valtra. I am so sorry. They're going to wonder, how in the heck did he get a gouge on the roof of his tractor? So it wasn't just the coffee that was leading to this horrific stall of death. It was his diet too, obviously, which was horrible. Based on his lunch fixings, oh man, it's just everything you can imagine that you shouldn't eat that will cause issues. This guy, I think to some extent it might have been intentional. I don't know. If it was the best joke ever. It was the best passive-aggressive joke ever. Because how do you deal with that? I mean, people are people. You can't tell somebody you can't eat. Actually, that's not entirely true. He actually was not allowed to bring in, I don't know what dish it was. I didn't have to put up with it because I wasn't in a confined space with him during the day. But in the room, it was a pretty decent sized room. It was probably 20 by, I want to say 20 by 20, 20 by 15. Probably maybe a bigger, a good sized master bedroom size room. It was a decent sized room. And there were 4 people in there, 4 help desk people. And I found out at some point that he actually did get asked to no longer bring in this particular dish. I guess he used to bring in. It had something. I forget if it was garlic or if it was. I forget what the issue was, but I guess it was just so overwhelmingly powerful that one of the girls that worked on the help desk in that room became physically ill. Became physically ill one day and had to go home. And that was I think the the turning point for that, and they actually had something that they could fall back on and say, hey, look, man, you can't be bringing stuff into work that's actually making other people, physically ill. And everybody liked this girl. So, unfortunately, that's just the way the world works. If people didn't like her or like a dude, they're probably not so quick to, back you up. But, if you're a likable person and in general people want you there, unfortunately, you win the contest most of the time. So needless to say, that's when we started with some more exploratory work on what this dude was putting in his gullet, and through some side conversations with him, it became quite apparent that he he wasn't doing anybody any favors. Smart guy, a little bit odd, but smart guy. Why did I bring him up? Oh yeah, because he played those kind of games. He played every game I have zero interest in playing. Like, he would try to get me. He wanted me to play that one game where you build colonies on Mars, I think it is. And I'm just not into those games. I've never been into those kind of games. They're not for me. I would think I would be, because I enjoy simulators mostly. But I'm just not into the games where you have to just go about and collect and build resources, especially if it takes a lot of thought. If I have to sit down when I play a game and I have to have a piece of paper and a pen, maybe a calculator, a scientific calculator at that, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for me. I get it, but that's not going to happen. That's not what I want when I come home from work. It's just not what I want. It's like in the days when I used to come home from work and the last thing I wanted to do was work on a stinking PC. And I just didn't want to deal with it. And I got into Mac because I just wanted to come home, turn my little Mac on, and be happy. And it worked for a long time. That worked for a long time. But unfortunately, Macs they're not good gaming machines. They're just not. They're not there. I think the newer ones, the M2s and stuff, are certainly probably have the prowess for the most part to play a lot of games. But, if you want to get into gaming with higher end cards and graphics cards and stuff, unfortunately, just the Macs they're not going to do that. I don't even know. I haven't really been paying much attention to the newer Macs as far as the Mac Pros and stuff. I know that you used to be able to get the desktop style Mac, the old Mac Desktop Pro Mac thingy. I forget what it was called. I think it was just a Mac Pro. And you could at least throw some really good graphics cards in the thing. But I don't know. Nowadays, I don't know. Even when you could, I think they had to be AMD cards, which there's nothing wrong with a good AMD graphics card. But you were limited to. Even then, you were limited, I think, to fairly specific cards that Mac OS would play nice with. Now, the days when Macs were Intel, you could get away with running Windows on a nice Mac Pro and maybe having a little bit more. But even then, you were still dealing with Mac firmware. It wasn't a regular BIOS. It was a Mac firmware BIOS. I don't even know what they call it now. I don't know, but that's kind of what drew me back to Windows is just the fact that if I wanted to really start playing some games that required, you know, some higher end graphics and stuff, my little Mackie wasn't gonna do it. I guess I could have stuck with a Mac and gone console, you know, gaming console. That might not have been a horrible way to go. It would be nice, and I'm sure there's ways. I would think, especially with the Xbox. I think PlayStations are probably a little more less tolerant of this, or be a little more locked down. But wouldn't it be nice if somebody would release a really nice gaming console that was actually upgradable? Like, you could honestly upgrade it in 2 years with the latest graphics card. That's it. That's all I would want. You know, throw a really decent processor in there. You know, throw enough RAM, a good chipset, a good solid chipset, enough RAM. Everything's SSD now. Throw a good, you know, SSD in there, some good storage. That's easily upgradable. But leave that graphics card stinking open for upgrade, man. Just do that. Even if it's a little bottleneck down the road, even if I throw a better graphics card in there and maybe I have a little bit of a bottleneck with the graphics card and my CPU, I would accept that if I can just give me an option for a few $100s if I want, you know? I don't know if that would even be financially, I don't know though. I forget what I paid for this last Xbox Series X. I bought my youngest son. Some dude I worked with had one that he didn't want. I still don't know the true origins of where that came from. It felt a little shady, but I later did see pictures of him. Like, I forget what it was. It seemed like I was able to kind of more or less guarantee that he, you know, bought it and it didn't fall off the truck. And he actually bought it from like a legit source. And it's not like I got it for a steal. I just got it for a little less because he had used it for a month. And they were still kind of hard to get your hands on. And I really wanted my kids to have the latest console so that I didn't feel as pressured to continue to upgrade their PCs, because that gets kind of expensive. And we're vested in the Microsoft consoles. From a gaming perspective, just switching to PlayStation wasn't really going to work very well for us, because we had, because they're always backwards compatible, and we had plenty of games that could still be played on an Xbox, and just just how used to something you get used to the interface, you get used to Xbox Live, and just like PlayStation people are used to their environment. But that thing's been really solid since I got it, and it's a great console. It definitely does the job. But you know, already you start seeing games. I talk to people who are playing Farming Simulator 22, even on an Xbox Series S. And I've had people tell me that it can be a little choppy. It can be frustrating sometimes, frame rates and stuff. So I think we've seen the end of Farming Simulator on anything lower than an Xbox Series X. I'm afraid that's the horn. I like it. I like it even more. Oh my goodness, we've gone OT, haven't we? I guess we're doing 2 episodes in one since I wasn't here yesterday. So we'll just call this a double header episode. How's that? All right, everyone, I'm going to let you go. I need to get going. Yeah, it's getting a little later here on my end, but you all take care of yourselves. I'm glad that we got our harvest done. Feels good to get this. Listen to it. It's got a little fan belt, I think, that's making a little noise. How fun is that? I love this little Massey. But anyways, you all take care of yourselves. Have a fantastic Wednesday. And we'll be back at it tomorrow. We need to get this field. Oh, that was the chute making that noise. It must have been the auger. Oh, I want this thing. I do. But it's got to go back. I guess we could continue to lease it, but yeah, well, I don't know. Probably have to go back. We could rent out some more. I guess we could rent out some more garage space. Oh, look what I forgot to do, folks. I don't know if you noticed, but I forgot to move our time ahead. Well, I'll advance it. I think, to be fair, I think we would have definitely wrapped up the day doing this. So I think when we get together next time, an hour, let's say this took an hour of real time. Yeah, we definitely wrapped up the day. So to be fair, we'll go ahead and skip ahead to the 2nd day of September. I want to make sure and stay fair to what we're doing. And I gotta get going. That's right. So you all take care of yourselves. I'll see you back here tomorrow. Please leave a like if you enjoyed the episode. I'd sure appreciate it. Subscribe too. That would be amazing. Love to have new people on board. Thank you to the RQS family members. You can also become a family member. You can join the channel if you'd like and support the channel. That'd be awesome if you do have the means to do so. And yeah, it's good to be back. Good to see you guys again. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.